Ooh, yeah. And I've got to say to you, hey, I'm done. But there,
Yay.
right.
You are
Alim,
good,
I want your
brother.
autograph before you go big time, okay?
I think he realized that we're about to put him right out there for the world to see. So he stopped.
If I can't make it in the labor movement, at least I have an opportunity in the singing.
All right, and
Lima, you may have to do that over again, because just as you finish
Ainsworth,
singing, that's when it
Ainsworth,
went
how you
live.
feeling, brother? You good?
Oh yeah, good.
Good, good.
All right, Madam President, I
okay.
think we could begin when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. All right, so unfortunately, we got Brother Alim to start off the usually at the end of the meeting, we'd have a little music to serenade you, and Brother Alim decided to do it at first, so we probably keep him at the end again to finish it up, or to give us a Bob Marley to go. How about that? Anyway, thank you everyone for coming. You know, as Susan mentioned, lovely day outside. People are outside enjoying a bit of it with the rain, and rainy some places, but again, you know, really appreciate you joining us this evening. There's a number of things that we want to talk about, and hopefully continue in some of these discussions in the next few weeks and months to come. So before we go any further, I am going to ask, is Chris here?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay,
You hear
and
me?
yeah, so let me ask, sorry, start off with Brother Abdi with the land acknowledgement.
Hello, sisters and brothers, comrades. Good evening. Today we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit, which was subject to the dish with one spoon treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississauga, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequently, indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans and all newcomers have been invited into the territory in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. We also acknowledge the many broken promises and treaties, and the need to work towards reconciliation with the original caretakers of this land, both in the present and for the future generations. Back to you, sister, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Okay, Brother Chris, could you read
Hello.
the statement for us?
Yeah, I would love to. So it is the policy of the Toronto New York Regional Labor Council to declare our absolute opposition to any discrimination or harassment. To ignore discrimination or harassment is to condone the acts of the harasser and further penalize the victim. Union solidarity is based on the principles that we are all brothers, sisters, and comrades, that we are all equal. Discrimination and harassment erodes the principles because it assumes that some union members are inferior. Discrimination and harassment are expressions of power or perceived power and superiority. It is intended that this policy send a clear message to harassers that their actions will not be tolerated, and to empower victims with the support of their union sisters, brothers, and comrades.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to turn over to Susan to take us through the Zoom process.
Thanks, Madam President. As I mentioned, we've been doing this for 2 years and 3 months now, so most or all of you are old hands at Zoom, but just to remind you, that we ask people to keep yourself muted unless you are going to be speaking, just to make sure that we reduce the background noise. And occasionally, if somebody forgets and we hear somebody speaking, we will just mute you. Feel free to make use of the chat function to share comments and information with others about the issues that are being raised. If you do want to speak, those of you who are online can go into your reaction button down at the bottom and you'll see your raise hand function. Use the one that says raise hand. Otherwise, if you have the waving hand or the thumbs up, it doesn't last for very long and we can't see it for the rest of the time. Finally, we will be voting on a number of motions tonight. Only those who are online are going to be able to vote in that, as has been the case at other meetings. Oh, and finally, I would say that yes, those who are on the phone, if you want to raise your hand, you can push *9 to raise your hand. Thank you. Back over to you, Madam President.
All right, thank you, Susan. And I am going to ask, always excited to know of any first-time delegates that's here with us. And if you are here for the first time, could you use the signal and just raise your hand? Any first-time delegates?
I'm here for the first time. I am having signal problems because I'm actually calling in from the Dominican Republic, and I can't figure out how to raise my hand.
All right, so if you could say your name and your union or
Sorry.
local.
I'm Linda Mariani, and I'm from ASU.
Okay. Okay, Linda, is there anyone else before? Welcome, Linda. Even though you are calling from far away, it's still we still appreciate you joining us. Hopefully when you're back in town, and maybe in the near future, probably September, we probably start resuming our in-person meeting if everything go well, and hope we meet you face to face.
Looking forward to it.
All right, thank you. So we have a number of things on the agenda tonight that need to discuss, as I mentioned, but before going any further, I know most of you already know the last few months where it was just a rush and trying to get ready for the provincial election, and a number of you also play a role in some way, volunteer in some way in the election. And I would say as of last Thursday night, after counting of those votes, we have the Conservative again, who will form a majority government, and also with the NDP as the official opposition for a second time. So I just want to say, regardless of the way the turnout, just appreciation of the work many of you did, working tirelessly the last few weeks to get through this election, and we still have work to do. Again, just looking ahead for the next few years, and that's another debriefing that we need to take some time. Right now, it's a little bit too early to do that, but I also encourage you to think through, the process of, where we're coming from with this and where we're at this point, and where do we want to be in the next 4 years. So we can at least, hearing some of this from you later, we'll be able to incorporate that into our own strategic plan for the Labour Council as we look forward for the next few years. I don't know who's on so far, if Felicia is here, but I just want to say on behalf of the Toronto and York Region Labour Council, congratulations to the 9 NDP MPPs who was re-elected, and also the newly elected MPPs. And I also want to thank our Labour-friendly candidates in Toronto and York Region who fought a good battle for progressive change, and I know Sister Felicia Samuels and Kingsley Kwok. Hopefully they're on. I'm not seeing their name yet, or if they get on later for us to just to show them some love. And anyone else who's on, who join us as well that I might have missed on for the meeting. So again, thank you very much for what you do and really taking this step to be a part of that of the political realm, so we can take on the government in stronger ways. So congrats to the new elected candidates. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to our minutes. I believe you already received the minutes. I don't know, is it in the chat as well? And I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve our minutes of May 5th, of our May 5th, 2022 meeting. Jane, I see your hand and.
So moved. Bill Signal.
Thank you. So, okay, so we'll vote. All in favor, please signify. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, and we are moving on to the credential report.
Madam Chair, tonight, Tuesday, June 7th, for the credential report, we have OPSU Local 542, 3 delegates, OPSU Local 596, 4 delegates. I so move. I can get a second.
Okay.
Madam President, do you want Cindy to do the electronic poll for that?
Yes, please. Yeah, and I see Jane, your hand is up. Do you have a question before we move?
Jane seconded the motion.
Second that.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Jane. Okay, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay. So Cindy, put the poll up for the credential report.
Hi, brothers and sisters. I think we have 5 seconds left. I'll count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and poll. President Andrea, I think we are fully approved for the motion.
Thank you very much. Okay, and on to our strike report. I know there was a few strike that was happening last month, and I don't know if we have representation from each union to speak on it. I see Rock from Carpenter. Rock, you can go ahead, and if anyone else is here for strike report, just please raise your hand. Over to you, Rock.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Rakaya Gate. People call me Rock. I'm representing Carpenters Union Local 27. And the strike for us, it was we had like over 70% of our members around the province voted in favor of a provincial strike. And I don't know if you know that Carpenters Union has been on strike for over 34 years. And the strike lasted about 3 weeks. And the reason for the strike was we had inflation, we had costs of buying homes that are consistently rising, cost of parking, gas. And what we've been saying as workers is that we're building all these and we cannot afford it. So the management offered 9% over 3 years, which was equivalent of 3% per year. And the membership voted 70% against it, reason we were on strike. And one of the reasons also I was on the picketed line, like on various sites, is also because I wanted to make sure that we have higher wages offer. After 3 weeks, the employer offered 12% over 3 years. So at that point, members voted in favor of accepting. And what I really want to do is I want to thank the members of the Toronto and York Region Labor Council for coming on several occasions to stand in solidarity with us. We also had Councillor Mike Layton stopping by and others to cheer and support us. So thank you. We also had CBC News CP24 for coming out and to hear our concerns. We want to say thank you as well. And also I want to really take this time also to thank every single one of our membership and leadership for standing in united for a better wage offer. And also thank you for listening and thank you for the opportunity. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Yes, and if anyone go out to picket line and you go off to any of the trades, you know that you have to sleepwalk to it. Those are 6 a.m. and 5 a.m. Picket line. I take my hat off to Susan and Jennifer sleepwalking along in their pajamas there. So yeah, so thank you for your report. And I don't think I miss anyone else. Hopefully they'll share. The other strike, I believe, is settled as well. Thank you, Rock, for sharing with us. So I also want to just to touch on a little bit of just sad news overall. We are facing it within our own country, but when you're hearing the same thing happening, whether it's in Buffalo, anywhere around the world that it's happening, it doesn't matter. Even if we're saying that's not happening in Canada, that's next door. It's really next door, and it can happen to any one of us. And also to highlight the fact that Canada is no stranger when it comes to gun violence and the disparity of our own community and families that have to go through this, and waking up and hearing of the tragic death, the killing in Buffalo of people that just simply went to the grocery store, and trying to sync that in with somebody who got up and decided that a color doesn't matter. Color shouldn't exist, Black shouldn't exist, and the research to do the work into it is so sad. And before the mourning, the grieving process of that, we are hearing of children in schoolyards. That's just somebody again get up and just gun down another person's child, family. 21 people that also was included in the school and into a church where you're no safer. But I wanna, as we do talk about that and really think about where do we wanna be in this country and as a labor movement when we say no and enough is enough, I want to ask Brother Abdi to speak on it. And again, because he's also a member of the CBTU, I think it's very important when they also put out a statement about what's happening in Buffalo. Brother Abdi, I'm going to turn over to you.
Thank you, Madam President. Sisters and brothers, comrades, it's a hard topic. It's a topic that we speak statements, condemn, and we continue to see another community's lives was shattered by horrors of gun violence, by horrors of racism. My name is Abdi Hagi Yusuf. I am a member of Coalition of Black Trade Unionists and Canadian Union of Postal Workers, also Secretary of Labor Council. But as a father, as a member of the community, what's happening in the United States, we are not immune of. In here, it's happening on our streets every night. We're losing young people to gun violence and hatred. We will always remember what happened in Quebec when a man walked in a mosque and shoot people. It's no difference from the other man in the United States who did the same. I don't know when a normal thing changed it. When looking and seeing mothers and children and communities crying, media only spends 2 to 3 minutes and we pass, and tomorrow we wake up and go to work. When it will be our turn and when it will be affected. I am a member in a community because originally I immigrated from Somalia, and over 400 young boys kill each other with violence. But when you add gun violence and racism, it goes to the roof. It kills more people than ever. I would like to begin by addressing the tragedy that occurred in Buffalo at the grocery store, which results in the murder of 10 Black shoppers at the hands of white supremacists. They just wake up to do their normal things like we do every day. I just passed Fresco to shop for my family. Those 10 people was 10 families that was being killed. We cannot forget when on May 24, when 19 young children that we sent them to school, their parents just bagged them a breakfast, kissed them, sent to school, and a gunman came and shot. And to 2 teachers, 21 of them. Where will be the peace? Where will be the safety that our communities, our bigger communities, to rest? When we can say our children will go to school and come back and kiss us again. When we can say our mothers, fathers, and neighbors will walk to the stores to shop and come back in peace. This heartbreaking mass murder reminds us that threat of anti-Black racism, Islamophobia, anti-brown racism, Asian racism, as they're called generally, LGBTQ, that leads to fatal violence, which is an consistent reality in nowadays. We cannot no longer sit on the sidelines, not to address all this racism. It's not only guns. Guns will continue because they have to sell on machinery and capitalists has to sell and create this problem. But as a labor movement, as a good people that thinks for their families, and good people are people, regular people that comes, wakes up and work for their family and come back and wants to live a normal life. We have to come together. We have to demand all legislators. Prayers, no more prayers and thoughts. We need action now. Although I recognize that these tragedies occurred in America, it serves a warning about the grave and danger for all racism in any form, anti-Black racism, anti-Asian racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-LGBTQ. And unless we come together, and it should stop the state, we should stop statements, we should demand, we should make it priority. We should demand every day and wake up and commit every morning to tell a legislator. We miss it in Ontario, we have conservatives, but we still have our voices. We still can save money. We still can come together as a Canadian Ontarian communities. If we don't stand up today, this will knock us our doors. So it's tragedy, sisters and brothers. It is something that we should wake up and work together in order to stop. Thank you. Back to you, Sister, Madam President.
Thank you, brother. And with that, I am going to ask for us to take a moment just to do a minute of silence. You know, as I said, like, it's across the border, and when we look at what's happening, it's still our neighbor. So I'm just going to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. We also prepare a statement, and I hope you got a chance to review this statement. And I would also encourage, if there's any speakers that would like to discuss this statement, you know, it's an opportunity for you to raise your hand and ready to go. Did anybody get to read this statement? Okay. Is there any speaker before we put the poll up? Okay. So I will I'll just go through the call for action on the statement. Therefore, the Labor Council Executive Board recommends that all delegates and affiliates recommit themselves to taking action to eradicate anti-Black, anti-Indigenous, and other forms of racism and hate within our unions, our workplace, and within society. We begin naming white supremacy and making it visible in the action of perpetrators, such as being the motive for the Buffalo shooters. All affiliates call on the province to update progressive, worker-friendly labor laws that will make it easier for workers to join unions. All affiliates call on the province to adequately fund social services and expand access to mental health support. All affiliates call on the federal government to reinstate the long-form gun registry. Okay, so I'll have voting on this motion.
We have 5 seconds left, everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 4. Madam President, I think we are fully approved this motion.
All right, thank you. Okay, so, all right, close this poll. Okay, thank you, Cindy. And for this month, June, it's National Indigenous History Month. And we also invited Merv King, Brother Merv King from Steelworkers to speak on this important month. So I'm going to pass it over to Brother Merv King. Oh, you're on mute, Merv.
Oh, am I okay
Go
now?
ahead. Yes, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, it is Indigenous month this month, and June 21st is actually the Indigenous Day, First Nations Day. So I'm going to start by saying, inspired by the civil rights movement of the 1960s, First Nations people began to fight for their rights, both civil and treaty, opening land claims at a time when they were not allowed legal representation, and residential school system was well entrenched into the Canadian society as a means of assimilating First Nations into the fabric of settler cultures, taking away language, culture, spiritual and physical well-being, and family connections. I'm sure that you all heard of the tragic findings of the 215 Indigenous children found buried at the residential school in British Columbia. Last week marked the first anniversary of the finding, and I'd ask that we take a moment of silence to honor those lost children and the many others that were found and are being found in residential schools across this nation. Thank you. Miigwech, thank you. So since 1982, First Nations have been fighting for self-government and recognition as a distinct nation. First Nations want the governments to negotiate with them nation to nation. This would give First Nations decision power about how to protect culture and language and the right to manage their own lands. The legacy of colonization has cheated First Nations out of their riches through a combination of governmental law changes and the Indian Act. The British North American Act of 1867 imposed European Canadian laws on Aboriginal society, followed by the most racist legislation in Canadian history, and that would be the Indian Act. And the British North American Act of 1867 imposed all these different laws on Aboriginal societies. The Wet'suwet'en protest by hereditary chiefs, which united First Nations across Canada, sparked discussions as to what difference is between hereditary chiefs and as opposed to elected chiefs. The Indian Act imposed a system of elections for chiefs, a concept which is unfamiliar to Native people, again, a means of oppression and assimilation. First Nations have found that in order to get attention of the governments, they must stop the commerce of the country. To do that by creating roadblocks, railways blockages, waterway blockages. The First Nations are showing that they are united in a fight for clean water, justice for murdered and Indigenous women and girls, and control over mineral and gas extractions, the cutting of old growth forest without prior and informed consent. And the 1867 Indian Act created a registry of all Indians by blood percentage quantums. This gave the government control over who was an Indian, installing its chiefs and councils and eliminating hereditary leadership. When the first Europeans came, they came with Bibles in hand, and we had the land. Now we have the Bibles and they have our land. The political activism of Canada's Aboriginal people has increased over the years since the Second War. As of the last census, there are over 1,500,000 Indigenous people spread over 600 recognized First Nations governments or bands with distinct culture and language separation from each other. This means that as most people, a lot of people believe, First Nations people are not all the same. There have been many atrocities committed against First Nations, which amounts to genocide. You need to know of the forced and coerced sterilization of young women and girls in Alberta from 1922 to 1972, and in British Columbia from 1933 to 1973, with their view that it was for their own good. The 60s scoop, when young First Nations girls had babies that were taken away from their families, approximately 20,000 Indigenous children were taken and adopted, many times to non-Indigenous people. And the baby scoop of the 1980s, where babies were taken away from unwed mothers, this practice continues as the millennium scoop. Most children who were taken by social workers did not return to their communities. Before Indigenous people can regain their sovereignty, there must be an end to systemic racism and a move toward a more open and equitable society, which includes all people. All the people who have come to live in this territory and in this country, all the people must know that they came from the four directions to make this their home, to make Canada their home. And they got to know that as part of the Truth and Reconciliation, that they must recognize that First Nations people were here first, and they must recognize the atrocities that were committed against First Nations by the governments of this country. If a First Nations person became educated by university, they were they're no longer allowed status as a First Nations person. And in today's knowledge-based society, education is highly valued, and education is critical in the development of economic prosperity, and a fair share of prosperity generated on First Nations traditional territories. Senator Murray Sinclair said, education got us into this mess, and education will get us out. Also, it also moved First Nations closer to self-government and a nation-to-nation sovereignty. This is what First Nations people are asking. And actually, at this point, it's becoming a demand that First Nations are demanding the right to a sovereign nation of their own. So thank you so much for listening. I hope I didn't chew up too much of the time that was allotted to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Merv. Thank you. So thank you for your report. You know, it's never too much time. There's so much work that need to be done, and always appreciate you coming out to share with us. As a labor movement, there's still many ways to reflect and to fulfill the 94 calls of action in the Truth and Reconciliation report. And as a labor council, we hope to move forward in ways to acknowledge our history and to move forward in reconciliation too. Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning of us, you know, with the turnout and also with the work, the few months, it's like a short time for anyone that was working on the provincial election or you know, whatever ways that we were out there, or even getting ourselves ready to go and vote. You know, just to look at where we're going at this point. But I think to do so, we also invited some of our MPPs to come and just to share a few words with us. I know that they are tired. It would be good for us to say rest because it's a lot of work ahead, but before we do so, we want to take the opportunity just to have them here to speak to us and you know, just to appreciate them some more. We have two MPPs here with us tonight, Peter Tobin and also Chris Glover. And maybe for the July meeting, we'll have more that will come in and speak. So I'm going to turn over to Peter, if that's all right, and then to Chris Glover next. Welcome, Peter.
Thanks very much, Sister Babington. Good evening, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Thank you so much for having me and Chris here. It was a very tough election. You're all well aware of that. I'm very grateful to labor activists who came out and worked on my campaign, worked on campaigns all over Ontario. Both formally, we had events, canvas events, and people came out to those, but also informally, a lot of labor activists and members just simply came, picked up hammers, put out signs, took clipboards, and went door to door. And I have to say, I'm very, very grateful for that, as are, I think, all of my colleagues. You know, it's going to be a tough 4 years ahead of us with the Ford government. This is not a government that's friendly to labor, notwithstanding the things that they've done and said. In the end, this is a government that opposes higher minimum wage, that opposes sick days, that is not willing to help people organize. And frankly, in this society, unless you have a strong labor movement, you're always going to have attacks on democracy. We see this in other countries around the world where the labor movement is weakened, democracy is at risk. So I'm looking forward to working with the labor movement, both to fight Ford, but also to build a larger movement for organized workers in this society. And I want to say to you, please let us know when strikes are happening so that we can come to the picket lines. Let us know when you're engaged in organizing drives so we can come out and support you. We know that we can't be successful, and I mean in a very broad way, we can't be successful in this society without a strong labor movement. And in a narrower way, we can't be successful in elections without a strong labor movement. So whatever we can do to strengthen you, let us know. In the legislature, it's my intention, I think it's our intention, Chris, you can speak to this, to amplify your voice, and when we can, speak for you, so that the people of Ontario know that we are aligned with the labor movement and we are speaking for working people. I think that's about all I wanted to say at the moment. I'm grateful. I'm looking forward to a tough fight with Ford. I'm looking forward to working with all of you as allies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Over to you, Chris.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having us here. And and I want to thank you on behalf of all the NDP members across the province, and in particular, the members in Toronto, Kristen Wong-Tam, Jill Andrews, Jessica Bell, Merritt Stiles, Batila Karpoche, Dolly Begum, and Peter and myself. So thank you so much. Oh, Tom Rakozovich. So thank you so much for all the help that the members of the Labour Council have gave us through the election. And it was a tough election. It was really tough. And as you said, you know, I think we're still recuperating a little bit from this one. This is 12 years ago, I was first elected as a school trustee, and I came to a meeting of the Labour Council after that election. And I thanked the union members then, and I thanked the union members again. And I would, you know, I've got a list of unions that you know, provided support through this election. I'm hesitant to read it because it's extremely long, but also because there are so many, and I wouldn't want to miss any. But know that your contribution is much appreciated. And what we take from this is we take it as a mandate to go and fight for workers across this province in the legislature of Ontario, and that's what we're going to be doing. There's some really egregious legislation in place right now, like Bill 124, which is a breach of the charter rights of workers in this province to fair bargaining. There's the gig workers bill that, you know, firmly entrenches gig workers as a second tier of workers in the province without of the rest of the employees of this province. So there's some really egregious legislation that we need to tackle. And that will probably be going to court. Certainly the Bill 124 is in the courts now. And there's so many things that we need to do. During the strike or during the campaign, I attended picket lines for the carpenters and for IBEW. And as Peter said, if there's a strike and if we can show some support by coming out to the picket lines, please let us know. We always show support for our union partners. Again, thank you so. And we will continue fighting. It's going to be over the next 4 years to protect workers' rights and to expand workers' rights, because really the only way that we get to a really prosperous Ontario, one with a growing, with a diminishing gap between rich and poor, is when we unionize more workers. And that has got to be our goal. We have to unionize more workers over the next 4 years, in spite of the obstacles in front of us. So thank you again so much for your support, and we'll keep working for you, and please reach out anytime.
Thank you. Is he frozen? Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so as mentioned, there's others, including MPPs that wasn't able to join us tonight, and we're looking forward to having them in the next meeting. And just a list here that include Dali Begum, Jill Andrews, and Vitilia Carpache. And as we know tonight, Merit was supposed to be here, Merit Style, and wasn't able to join us. And I think Christine Wang-Tam also will join us later. So we hope as well to speak with Faisal Hassan in the next meeting, who was not re-elected, but definitely a friend of Labor. So for the next meeting, hopefully, I know a lot of people are just trying to unwind right now on a lot of things that they're catching up with. So, and we did a last minute, it's so close. So I thank you very much for being here with us, and we look forward for as we move forward in fighting and for justice with you by our side, and we take this on. So it's always a fight outside of our door, and we're grateful that you are here to work with us on that. So again, thank you for coming out tonight. Before we wrap up, Jill Andrews, she's not here, but we also have a short clip of her on election night that we'd like to share with you in that excited moment. So I don't know if it's Susan or Skylar could share a little bit of Jill. Skylar.
My name is Jill Andrew, and I'm the MPP of Toronto.
All right. Okay, so we got that. So hopefully we'll see, but that's Jill. And I think, I did say that early on too, that as we look at getting ready for this election and where are we going, I think it's also important for us as Labor, when we make this arrangement of organizing our own members and ourselves as union, of where do we want to see ourselves in the next 4 years, and how do we operate within this time. We have to also go back and look at we're hearing frustration from the low voters turnout, and if we're moving forward, we have to spend some time and just to assess what was happening. Why was it so low? Maybe going back out to talk to your own co-workers, your members, to learn a little bit more about what motivates their vote if they voted. What motivates that? Did they vote? Why did they vote? I think it's really important that we do that. And if they did not, why did they not vote? This is not the only election. We are getting ourselves ready for a municipal election down the road. And it doesn't mean this is a one-off. We know the last 2 years are coming into 3 years where we are experiencing this pandemic, and it takes some people into a dormant phase and the frustration with it and a lot of other obstacles that's in the way. But it's still so important for us to do a little bit of learning as to this experience, what happened in this election, and how do we go forward with that. So I just want to put that out there for us as well, as we get ourselves ready, prepare for the next election that's coming up ahead. And for, you know, as Chris said it, and again, I think, and also for Peter, we know for sure that it's not just 4 years. We gotta keep our eyes wide open. We have to keep our eyes wide open and what happened. And yeah, there is Ford, and it's not a gentler Ford. It's a Ford that is allowing us to let our guard down and anything goes. So yes, he's around, but we have to make sure that we keep on our toes and make sure that he realizes that we're not falling asleep with him, because there's a lot of things at stake. With this pandemic, we're losing a lot. Like when it comes to union power, we have that. That's very important for us to understand. Labor law is relevant. And we know exactly where he stands on that. We know where he stands when it comes to earning a decent wage, sick days, and the list goes on. So for sure, let us get ourselves up with whatever we have here, get ourselves organized, go back in and have the conversation with our members and get ready to make sure that he understands that we are not going away and we're not fooled by him. So I just want to put that out to you as well. Okay. So with that said, I am going to move on to our conversation around the municipal election. So the municipal election is coming up really quickly. Believe it or not, like we're not even in the summer yet, but we can't, there's no time to waste on that. We have to organize ourselves, and as I said, learn from this as what else we need to do. And I'm gonna turn over to Skylar to talk to us a little bit about some of the things that we are planning, including the municipal political action conference that's happening this weekend. Skylar.
Thanks, Andrea. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the chat right now. So I've been talking to you guys about our political action conference for the last couple of meetings, I think. So you heard about it, but have you registered? I've been calling and texting people all day, as has Andrea, to remind folks. I think a lot of people are expecting to go, but we need numbers so that we can complete our planning and make sure everything's ready to go. It's going to be great. We have an excellent program planned. We've got, I actually have the agenda kind of in front of me here today. So like fantastic plenaries planned with inspiring speakers, people who have run or have organized before for municipal elections. We're going to have 3 separate workshops, and all of the workshop sessions and lots of different workshop options. And all of them are going to be skills-based training. So whether you've never done this before and you just are interested and you can see that there's a need, or whether you've done this lots of times and you're like ready to like manage a campaign, there's something here for you. We're going to have plenty of candidates, progressive leaning candidates that are going to be coming out as well, because they want to meet you, and I think you want to meet them too. And they're looking for campaign teams, so it's like a great place to kind of match people up. And yeah, like I wanted to actually see a show of hands. Who here has already registered for our conference? If you could please raise your hand in the chat. Yeah, thanks. There's Rick, there's Brandon, and Brandon's actually one of our MCs. And I see a number of people there. Thank you so much. Okay, Philomena, awesome. So in the chat, Susan has also put it in there too. You'll see the link. So I'm gonna take a minute here. We're gonna do like a little round of like who wants to sign up right this moment. So we're gonna take some time. I'll share my screen if that's not too distracting for you. Maybe it is, and just show you how easy it is. And we're gonna take a couple of minutes, and I hope you register right now. I know there's a cost to this conference, but let's not worry about that at this moment. You can sign up without paying anything. So please just sign up. And if you can only come for half the day, come for half the day, because we want to see as many of you out there as we can. You know, we can't win elections without, you know, capacity, and that means being trained up as well. So let's take a couple of minutes now. I'm going to share my screen to show you what it looks like. So here's, that's the link that you're being sent to. And you just want to click this button right here, and it's just going to pop up right on top of your screen there. You're going to purchase your ticket, register like this. Oops. And it's just as easy as putting in your contact information, and then you're registered. And then we're going to send you some more information later on, and we're going to figure out the best workshops for you. And that's all you have to do. So let's take a couple minutes while we talk about some other things. And I want to hear in a few minutes who has registered. Throw it in the chat and let us know if you registered. Thanks, Brandon. I see you just officially registered. I see Carol's got her hand up. Carol, did you want to talk? Did you want to speak to it or ask a question?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, maybe it's just me, but it seemed to have come up at the last minute because it's this Sunday. Did I miss something, or what's the reason for the sort of, I think, last minute, or am I wrong?
We've been pushing this since the registration launched on May 2nd and been talking about it at delegates meetings, but I think a lot of people like this, like we've been sharing it with unions, we've been sending it out, and it's been on every single e-blast every week, but I think people have been really distracted with the provincial election. So this is the week that we're tapping people on the shoulder and reminding you that it's coming right up. So we also wanted to make sure that this conference happened before the summer when people are going to be away. DOS registered, thank you.
Thank you, Skylar.
Who else can register themselves right now? Or who else is going to be asking a friend or a colleague to join them? Thanks, Carol, for your registration.
For those of you who haven't had Oliver Rose's catering for a while and have a hankering for either his Caribbean chana or his jerk chicken, that's what's going to be on offer. So there's going to be a lovely hot lunch. That should be enough to entice you there. And as Skylar is saying, if you can't stay for the whole day, come for lunch and stay for the afternoon, or come for the morning, leave after lunch. It'll be really good to get together and share energy with other people and learn some skills and join some new election teams.
Okay. All right. So I think maybe what we can do, well, people, yes, question about mask wearing. So this is in the IBEW hall where we used to have our delegates meetings on Lawrence Avenue East, and the hall requires masking. So there will be masking during lunch, but there's also, assuming it's a nice day, we can eat outside as well. But yes, masking is required. I think I will turn it back to Andrea to continue on with our municipal piece, but I think I'd still like to hear from people in the chat. If you've registered, it would be great to hear back from you. Thanks.
Yeah, and I also want to let you know, and I think the question that was asked about last minute, it's out, we put it out through, I think, the Labor Action. There's several ways that Labor Council have been putting it out on social media. And I would also encourage you to check, some of you could check with your own union that advise us that they also approve it at their board meeting, and it's on probably on your own website. So I know some union said to us that they approve, they pass motion, approve it, and put it out on the website for members that would like to go, or those members could reach out back to them, and so they would have a list, and they could pay for it later, not necessary that the money have to come ahead of it. So please check with your own union as well, and you might find already that you're all set for that. Yeah. So they without wrapping up on the plan, I think we need to also talk a little bit about how we are other ways that we're getting ready. And we have our election planning committee who meets on right now on a regular basis, and part of that meeting is to meet and interview the candidates, and they've been busy doing that as well, and again endorsing, taking it back through the executive board for the board to endorse. And we're now at this meeting with the names of the candidates that already the election planning committee already met with, and the board also approved. So I'm going to ask Brother Alim if he could, he's also a part of the election planning committee and the board. Brother Alim, if you're still here, if you could give a little bit of report.
Yeah, so earlier this year, we set up the Municipal Election Planning Committee, or EPC, to prepare for the 2022 Toronto municipal election this October. One of the EPC's roles is to help identify potential candidates for nomination by the Labor Council. These nominations are then shared with affiliated unions to communicate to all of your members. Our process starts with current city councilors, so incumbents, who we endorsed in 2018. They undergo an interview process with members of the EPC, which makes a decision about who we recommend should be endorsed. The EPC recommendations are then considered by the executive board. We then bring forward the recommendations in cycles. Tonight you will hear about the first set. We will bring forward some additional possible endorsements in future delegate meetings. And we should have a full list of our endorsements by the September delegates meeting. So tonight, on behalf of the executive board at the Labor Council, I move the following. Labor Council endorses the following candidates who have registered for re-election: Shelley Carroll and Gord Perks. So I'll stop there for a second. Okay, well, it's up on the thing. And Labor Council endorses the following current city councilors for 2022: Paula Fletcher, Mike Layton, and Anthony Peruzza. Now, listen, the main distinguish between why we're not endorsing all five at the same time is because some of the candidates have asked us not to because they haven't registered as candidates yet. So Shelley Carroll and Gord Perks have registered. That's why we are endorsing them. We plan on endorsing the other three, but we will not make that announcement until they have registered. Okay, so that's just for clarification. So I hope that makes sense to everybody.
Okay. Okay, so we'll put is there a poll that's going up? For the,
I think there's a few people that would like to speak to
okay.
the motion.
So I see Brandon and then Carol.
Sure. Good night, good evening, everybody. Brandon Haynes, president of the Toronto Public Library Workers Union, Local 4948 of CUPE, and chair of the municipal committee, as well as chair of the election planning committee. And I would like to speak in favor of this motion that Alim has presented. I'm very confident in the work that the election planning committee has done in terms of asking very intense and rigorous questions that deal with all aspects of city politics that matter to us as workers in Toronto and York region, whether it's about the nature of the candidate and their perspective for politics, revenue tools, equity, funding for school boards and things of that nature. And all of these candidates that were presented previously on the screen have been people that we've been working with over the years in labor, and people that we need to further engage and keep working with to make sure that they enact policies and work with other politicians that support workers and support communities. And so I just wanted to speak in favor of the motion and say that I agree with the endorsement of the candidates that were mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, Carol?
Hi there. I don't know if this question is directed to Alim or Andrea or whoever might be able to help me out. Now, I do beg forgiveness ahead of time because I'm fairly new and I'm not fully conversant with maybe all things. So pardon my ignorance here, but the word endorsing. I had a conversation recently, and I'm Carol Carpenter with QP 4400, and I had this conversation with our own union, if memory serves me, because something came up recently. Unions, I believe there's some type of, and correct me here, I'm not sure if it's a law or legality, that unions at a period of time, I don't know when it was, last, I don't know, it could have been 10, 20 years, who knows, but at some point, they were no longer permitted to, and again, I'm trying to find the word. I don't know if it's endorse, but promote candidates. And I just want a little bit of clarity around that, if I'm making sense. That endorsing may be one thing, supporting another, maybe, I think it's the legal ramifications I'm struggling with. Are you understanding what I'm saying, and can you help me?
Go ahead, Susan.
Sorry. Are you speaking? Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, I can answer that unless there's someone from the CLC here who would prefer to speak to that.
Carol. Sorry, I didn't put my hands up. This is Pixie from 4400.
Hi, Pixie.
Carol?
Yeah, hi, Pixie.
Yeah, it's not endorse. It's like to give money, like monetary stuff. We can endorse, but we cannot give money.
Oh, that's helpful. So I knew there was some type of a legality. So it's a monetary thing that looks like maybe a bribery or something. So I get it. Thank you, Pixie. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And then one additional layer to it is that the focus of the Labor Council in the endorsements is actually to work with the unions that are affiliated with us, both on the school board side, because there will be a process for bringing school board endorsements forward, and on the city council side, and for the unions who are affiliated with the Labor Council to really share that information with your union members. And so unions are allowed to spend time and money talking internally with members. The prohibition, as Pixie says, is around giving money to candidates. Thank you.
And I believe there's if you go to the chat, there's a few other comment there on it. I see Bill, there was someone else, is it Kara, or did you answer, was that the answer you wanted to give?
I just wanted to comment as well that your home local union can put on a bus. It can have an outdoor barbecue. You can gather all of the members out to campaign, leaflet, knock on doors. And that's internally, your local union can do that. You can have 50, 100 people go out and support a candidate and talk to the general public through that knocking on doors. Yes, we do not now contribute any monies to political parties, but we can use our time effectively by encouraging our members to come out. We can have a barbecue to encourage them to come. So it's our way of supporting Labor candidates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Miles?
Yes, hi, Andrea and everybody. I guess I have a question about the process here. And I certainly have nothing against any of the candidates whose names are covered by this motion. And I believe all of them have been endorsed by Labor Council in previous elections. My question, though, is two. There are two elements to my question. One is, before we're voting to endorse anyone, can someone review the criteria that Labor Council uses in vetting candidates for municipal election, so that delegates understand exactly why we may or may not want to vote in support of endorsing these candidates? And then my second question is, and it's kind of related to the first, because historically, I know the Political Action Committee of Labor Council, which I've participated on in the past, does a vetting process where we look at, there's a questionnaire that goes to candidates, we look at voting records, we look at, a range of criteria, their support for labor-specific issues and initiatives the Labor Council has supported in the past, and for other elements of Labor's agenda. And that is one of the elements that goes into the endorsement. But the other, so I'm not sure whether we've actually had an opportunity to do that for these candidates. I know we've got a history with them, but it would be useful, I think, for delegates to hear that information. And then the second question I have is, it seems pretty early for us to be endorsing any candidate. There's no party system at City Hall. And while these are all good progressive candidates, or at least most of them as far as I can tell, we have no idea who else may be offering in any of those 5 wards. And whether at some point there may be some other stronger candidate who we may choose to endorse them. So on the surface of it, it sounds like we've got a history with these folks. We've endorsed them in the past. 2 of them have already registered. We think 3 of them are likely to register. But I'm not sure that's sufficient for an endorsement. And so I'm wondering if we can answer those questions about why we're not holding off on this. It's no slight on the candidates, but it's just doing our due diligence to ensure that we're identifying the best, strongest possible, most representative, most pro-labor candidates who will be running in each ward.
Do we have any of the questionnaire at this point that could put up based on Miles' question, Skylar, or no?
Yeah, I can speak this a little bit. I think Susan is going to post the link to the municipal action plan in the chat in a minute. So this Labor Council endorsed or passed our municipal action plan. I think it was back in February, which lays out the entire structure of our whole plan for the whole election season, and in particular how we go about our endorsement process. So, we've as I think was already mentioned by Liam when he was introducing this motion, we struck an EPC of all of our with representation from all of the affiliated unions that are impacted by municipal decisions directly, and that EPC has been going through that process. There was a subcommittee that was struck to establish as was also mentioned, quite rigorous interview question guide. So there was hours and hours of work put into establishing those interview questions. There's 23 questions, and they're on all policy issues, that run the gamut from social to environmental to labor issues. And all of the candidates were asked to answer the exact same questions, and we looked at all of those. Also, as part of our action plan, but not being presented today, but is in process, will be a municipal report card. So we'll be we have actually looked at voting records as part of the interview process as well, and we're asking questions directed at voting records. But we are looking at that as well, and as has the same thing that we have done in the past, looked at voting records on votes that are particularly indicative of willingness to work with labor and also on social, environmental, and racial justice issues. So all of these are taken into consideration for endorsing of incumbent candidates who have previously received our endorsement. I think in general, it's fair to say that it would take like a lot to not endorse a candidate that we have previously endorsed and who has been working alongside labor for 4 and more years. So that is also taken into account as well. I think that is what I had to say about it, but I see Brandon and Aline both have their hands up as well.
Yes, Alim and Brandon.
So just, Skylar touched on a lot of things, but we tried to get a bunch of people from different unions. We looked at our 2018 questionnaire, and we sort of tried to tweak it so that would be more relevant to what's happening now. At the same time, Miles, I appreciate what you're saying, but we are not out there soliciting any of these counselors. I think it's very important that everyone understands that we want these city councilors to come to labor and ask for our endorsement, not us go out there and ask them for their endorsement, that we want to give them our endorsement. That's not what's happening. So we went through a vigorous vetting process where then we bring them in and if anybody asks, we'll typically give them an opportunity to come in front of us. At the same time, while we're going through that process, we do have their voting records. And I understand what you say about potentially other people running in possibly those wards. But if you see some of our questions, it's about what have you done in the last 4 years? Your fundraising models. What have you done for your campaign? What do you have in place? So even if there was somebody who was pro-labor, maybe more favorable than anybody else on that list that we've presented to you today, but we would know about them because they would have constituency offices or been doing work in the wards, and none of those people have really approached us. So for us, as a committee, we really wanted to ensure that, you know, it's not just giving people the endorsement because we've given it to them in the past. That's really not what we want, but we want to make sure that we're endorsing a pro-labor and a winning candidate, right? And there's some wards where we may stay out of because there isn't somebody pro-labor, or maybe we just have 2 people, but those are things that we talk about, and then we eventually present that to the delegates. So I hope that clarifies a bit more.
Thank you, Brandon and Chris.
Yeah, I think Alim and Skylar said a lot of what I wanted to say as well. So I think we're all on the same page, but it is, as I said, a rigorous process. I never have any concern when I talk to my members and they say, you know, why is the union telling me to vote for these people or encouraging that I vote for them? Because I know that the process is quite lengthy. There's different union folks from different sectors that are at the table. As Alim said, it's not just rubber stamping, it's more of just interviewing people, reviewing the notes from the interviews, reviewing all of the things that people bring to the table, and then considering votes and voting records that people have brought forward in the past and who our friends are in the labor movement. And I think it's quite clear who those people are, not to say that we just have to blindly support them year after year, but I'm very confident that the list of people that are presented are the ones that have the best opportunity to win in a term of office where it's likely that Mayor Tory may be reelected if you look at some of the other candidates that are running against him, and then B, who has the most electability and the potential to bring forward progressive policies that will benefit all workers and the communities. So again, I just want to commit to the fact that, you know, these people are the ones that I believe that we should all support as a labor movement. Thank you.
Okay, Chris.
How are you? So I just want to, I think the other speakers that are on that committee spoke very well, but just my point of view, I came on that committee very naive, not naive, I'm trying to think of the right word, but I'd never been on the committee before, so I was pleasantly surprised that the questions are very robust. And the debate in the committee was very robust. Listen, the people that are presented today to the delegates are all union friendly or all progressive candidates, but that didn't stop in our private conversations to ask some very serious questions, not only the candidates, but also amongst ourselves. I think I'm very safe to say like two of the candidates that we're presenting today, two of the councillors, I speak of Paula Fletcher and Mike Layton, are very good friends of my sector. And it would take somebody extremely extraordinary that's running against Paula Fletcher and Mike Layton to come out of the woodwork. And I think the point that was just made, that we would probably already know who that person is by now for me to change my vote on that committee. So I think the candidates that were presented today to the delegates have been well vetted and are very good friends of the Toronto Labour and York Region Labour Council. And I'm going to support them and do what I can to get them elected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I see there's no name. There's a Galaxy 8.
It's me, Pixie, sorry.
Okay,
I don't know why
Pixie.
that's coming up and that's my name, sorry. What we did for this election that went by last Thursday, and I saw Chris Glover, he spoke before, and we, 4,400, what we did, we made a pledge, because, members asked the same question that someone asked tonight. And what we did, we made a pledge and we made them sign that pledge to say, these are things that we are expecting them to support us in. And they were all happy to sign that pledge.
Okay. All right.
Madam President, can I just jump in for a quick second?
Okay, go ahead.
So typically your unions could do a pledge, okay? Because you can sort of cater the pledge more to your sector, your needs. The questions that we have, the 23 questions, talk about a wide variety of things. It's not specific to any local. We try to put in questions that would deal with policy and social justice issues. So things, I know somebody asked for the questions. I don't think we have anything to hide, but at the same time, we do have different questions for incumbents and for new candidates. So there is work put into that. But we ask things about their views on revenue tools, gender equity, defunding the police, housing affordability, their views on contracting out public services, their views on what would make a better city, what they've done, their progressive politics. The questions that we're sort of asking, listen, for many of us, a lot of us are in elected positions. And you have to understand, you have to work with some of the people that get elected with you, even if they're not part of your team or your slate. But when we get them into these interviews, it's really important that, because we want to see how they're going to answer to us, right? We want to make them accountable. We ask them, hey, are you willing to meet? We've looked at their track records. Like there's a lot of work that's been done, but at the same time, we want to know, because typically we need half of the candidates to be progressive to push our agenda. So we're also factoring in, when we have these candidates, we ask them tough questions like, hey, how do you navigate through the politics of trying to pass a motion at city council? So there's a lot of work that goes in there, and it's not specific to, for example, transit, library workers, firefighters. Why we have many people from many different unions who also helped draft it up, the questions. And it's just about getting their views and sort of their idea of progressive politics so we can see, and then we go through our endorsement process. So I hope that sort of makes more sense.
Okay, thank you. And I see Bill, your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to point out one of the major questions that they ask is, do you believe in a fair wage policy? It's a very important policy. Not everyone is in a union, But for those people that are not in the union, there's a fair wage policy that the city of Toronto acknowledges for everybody. And it's a critical point because otherwise we'd be whittled away slowly, one by one. Right at this present time, Metrolinx is suggesting that they don't want to always use the fair wage policy. There's a debate happening now on that. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I hope the majority of councillors in the city right now continue to support the fair wage policy. That's just one of the major questions that's asked. They're not all on one political party either. You know, we look at them as, will they support Labor? We don't ask them all the time, are you a liberal, conservative, New Democrat? We ask them if they'll be the best candidates for us as Labor Council. I just want to put that forward because it is very important. Sometimes you question why one individual was supported over another, and that's one of the reasons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Yes, I just want to say, if you watch city council or attend city council and listen to the questions that each of these members that the Labor Council has recommended for endorsement, every single one of them will ask questions about Toronto's poverty reduction strategy, the fair wage policy, social justice, the housing, social housing. Every single one of these have always fought in council and voted that way also. It doesn't matter about political ties, because some of these are Liberal supporting people and others are NDP supporting further left-wing people. But if you look at the overall positions and how they voted and the questions they ask of city staff, they are all supporting the agenda of Labor Council.
Okay, thank you. So I noticed Susan also put in the chat one of the questions that was asked back in February before we started this process. We also start off with the action, our municipal action plan. We brought that to the delegates and went even further to mail them and also by email to all heads of union. So we did all that step, and with some heads of union, we actually had one-to-one conversation about the action plan. So we cover that. And I know the timing on it when you're setting appointment, and it's hard for availability with everyone. And if we look at like some union right now, by the end of June, they're not available. And it's not just the Labor Council who's doing this, it's a number of unions that make up the election planning committee. And we try to schedule as much as we can and with the availability there. By the end of the summer, to get ready for a municipal election, you really want your members to have some ideas of who's already on that list that the union is endorsing. And if we wait until September, then we're running really short to have that information to members as well. So I just want to put that out there. And I hope the explanation that you got from the election, some of the election planning committee who responded just now, if it's okay, and I'm gonna ask to put the poll up, and if there's any other question that we need to think about as we continue this process. This is just 2 out of that list that's to come. Please share with us. If we're missing something, please share that with us so we can take that into consideration as we continue the process. Wendy or Cindy? So again, this is just for the two.
Five seconds left, everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Paul.
Okay. So I gotta check back with the, I just did the two, and for the first two I just mentioned, sorry about that. And I believe the other, is it 3 on the list, Skylar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Skylar mentioned before, for the others that's there, I think I just misunderstood. We're not going to put those out to our members until they have registered, but we are bringing them to you because they've gone through the process already for you to approve. So can you put back the last 3, is it 3 names on it? No, sorry, I just asked for the first 2 on that. So I'm gonna ask for so the last 3 is Paula Fletcher, Mike Layton, and Anthony Peruzza. I did not include them in the first. I believe these just for you to approve them, and then they're on hold until they're registered. So can I have the poll back up for the last 3? So that's back over to you, Cindy. Okay.
Five seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Paul.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I have to update you. I hope all of you already know about the Bramley Armstrong Gala. Last year was very successful, regardless of what was happening with the pandemic and Zoom. You know, very educational. People walk away and just kept talking about it. This year, again, it's back again by popular demand, Bramley Armstrong. And I have Keith, one of our co-chair from the Equity Committee, who's going to give us a little bit of update. If you didn't buy your ticket as yet, it's still not late for it. Keith, I'm going to turn it over, and after that, we'll just show a short teaser for that.
Thank you, Andrea. My name is Keith Menezes, co-chair of the Equity Committee of Toronto and York Region Labour Council, and a member of the United Steelworkers Local 9197. On behalf of my co-chair Camlin and myself, I want to remind you of the upcoming 17th Annual Bromley Lloyd Armstrong Awards Gala happening tomorrow, Wednesday, June 8th, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Every year, awards are given to individuals and now also to unions that have done outstanding work on racial justice work in the labor movement. This is a virtual event and tickets are still available. If you have not already purchased yours, you can get these by contacting info@laborcommunityservices.ca. Thank you to all those who have purchased sponsorship packages. These include 3 tickets each, which can be claimed by contacting Rochelle Himaya at Labor Community Services. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keith. And we're going to show a short teaser to follow with that.
Brother Bromley Armstrong was a giant of
trade union activists, community activists.
At a time when to talk about systemic racism was unheard of. They were actually dismantling systemic racism.
It wasn't for them as individuals. It was to make life better for communities, for families, for society, and for Canada as a whole.
We need to shake the trees.
Make changes that will make sure that no one is ever left behind.
Continue Bromley Armstrong's legacy and maximize our practice of everyday resistance.
This is our moment, our movement.
All right. So I hope to see all of you there. You know, as we talk about some of the challenges that we face in our workplace and in our community, anti-racism on the top of that list, this is also an opportunity for us to come together to remember Bromley Armstrong, but also to think about how we can go back into our own workplace and look for the Bromleys of our union, the Bromleys in our community, and bring that forward and just bring that out, the activism in them. So, you know, I hope you can attend that event. And I'm gonna also switch back over to Keith because we have another event that's coming up, IWOC, again, Indigenous and Workers of Color Conference that's coming on the 18th of June. So it's very busy for us this month, but hopefully you're able to attend or you're able to send members. As I said before, some of the unions said to me that they already passed motion in their board meeting, approve for their members to attend these events. It's on their website. So please, I encourage you to take a look or contact your union to see for the Indigenous and Workers of Color Conference. It's on Zoom, $20, right? But again, as we're saying, please register. We can always figure that part out later, but we just need to make sure that we have participants for these events. Keith, over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. Another upcoming event is the Indigenous and Workers of Color Conference on June 18th from 9:15 a.m. to 1:15 p.m. Last year's online conference was really exciting, with everyone staying right to the end, when a number of door prizes were also drawn. The theme this year is the racialized majority, know our worth, normalize our power, and take what's ours. The keynote speaker is Nicholas Thompson, followed by panelists Brandon Haynes, Anika Rashid, and Megan Reddick. Additionally, there will be breakout workshops entitled Owning Our Music, Protecting Our Land, Indigenous Issues, Building Our Power, Justice for Workers, Growing Our Community, Racialized Majority, and Refugee Next Door, Telling Our Stories. For additional information and details on purchasing tickets and to register for the workshops, please contact Toronto and York Region Labour Council through the website. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank
Andrea,
you very
if it's
much.
okay, I might just share the screen for a second so people can see where to register. Sorry. And I just wanted to show you, so I put this link in the chat, but I wanted to show you that just recently we've added in the description of the workshops as well as the names of the facilitators. So you can pick your workshops, and there's some really great stuff as Keith was outlining there. Okay, but I'll let people read that on their own time.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Skylar. Okay, so we are moving on to our correspondent report. Over to you, Brother Abdi.
Thank you, Madam President. Sisters and brothers, comrades, we have only one correspondence tonight. It's a request from Labor Community Services for a sponsorship to the Bromley Armstrong Award event that will be held on June 8th. The Executive Board recommends a sponsorship of $2,000. I so move it.
Okay. Jane, your hand. Jane?
Yeah, sorry, I thought I was seconding it again.
Thank you very much, Jane.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
I second it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Can I see the? If I put a vote, okay, the poll is here, so it's fast, it's easier this way. Sorry, if you're able to use the poll, that would be great. Thank you.
Another couple seconds and I'm going to end it. 3, 2, 1. Madam President, it passes with
All
100%.
right, thank you. Thank you very much. So, you know, as I mentioned about this year, busy last year, and I think the year before was just we couldn't go anywhere. It's just planning day to day, whether we go outside or not. And I just want to talk a little bit about Labor Day. We're getting questions, phone calls. I think some union want to figure out what's the plan for Labor Day, and they would need to make their own internal plan for that. I hope you didn't start without us. This year is going to be special. Last year we were celebrating, and unfortunately some of you couldn't join us, and we ended up deciding that we'd do a car cavalcade. Amazing, amazing, amazing. It was just amazing seeing whoever, you know, some didn't want to have all the cars, but that's the only way that we were able to get out on the street. But then we were greeted with a lot of bicycle, which I hope this year we have a contingent for those bicycle, but we did the best we can, and also recognize that there are some that wasn't able to come out and join us for the cavalcade, and the year before was even worse, where we were just using social media for that. But yet we also celebrate 150 years anniversary of the Labor Council with working people forging ahead. This year is also special. So if you look at maybe behind myself, Susan or Cindy, you'll see the 150 that we use to mark our 150 years celebration of the Labor Council. And it's similar because this year we are actually again celebrating another 150 years that we've been marching on the street. And I would say starting off in 1872 with the printer strike. So here we are, and again marking our journeys and celebration, our victories and our struggle. Because Labor Day, we would start off, and I remember myself, when I came in this country and as a worker going out to Labor Day, it represent gains. It represent all these things that we won. And then later we were going out to send a message to the boss that we are not gonna take it. So there's different ways when we go out, and I'm happy to say that this year we're going back on the street again. We're back on the street, and we want to see all of you on the street. And we sat down with a small team and tried to put together our theme for this Labor Day. And hopefully when you're out, if you didn't start your designing yet, then you're able to join us with this, with our theme, our design that we put together. So Susan, I'm gonna turn over to you if you're able to give a little bit of synopsis on what we have already in store for everybody.
Thank you. And I'm rubbing my hands because it's going to be such a pleasure to show this. It was a real team effort, but improved by a team, unlike some committee projects. And Simon Sung, who's done some of the design work for this, deserves a lot of the credit for it. I'm going to show you a few things very quickly just to give you a flavor, because this has already gone out to the heads of unions, and hopefully it's been shared with your communications people. And we're going to have other time to show you. So the first thing is, this is the theme, 150 years together. And it does, as Andrea said, build on the 150th anniversary theme, but it has the years and it has together. The interesting thing about this design is how it fits with some other elements. So the first thing I'm going to show you is actually the poster. It's a very busy poster, but this is how we're going to be advertising this in our Labor Action magazine. So it's got the 150 years together here. It has scenes from underlying scenes from previous Labor Days, and then overlying scenes from mostly from last year's cavalcade. But down here in the bottom, you'll see Together 150 and the words Together we did, Together we can, Together we will. And so the way the slogan, the design, the theme for this year has been structured is to allow you, the unions, the affiliates, to make decisions about how you'd like to make use of that. So you can see here that there's room for on the horizontal and on the vertical, for the logo of the affiliate to be included on any kind of a color background. The vertical one, you can see the different logos. We've got QP79. They've just gone through an election today. You can hear more about that later. We've got firefighters. We've got IBW, ATU, a number of different mock-ups of this. Same thing with the horizontal slogan. Lots of different ways of incorporating the union logo. And then if organizations want to do flags or other kinds of swag, there are different ways of incorporating the union's logo, the 150 years together, and then a lot of information to throw at you. This is where it gets creative. Each union can figure out what Together we did, or Together we can, or Together we will message matters to you. In this case, we've included we will get affordable, accessible childcare, but any kind of a slogan can go in there. And so if this was bigger, if I get that up to 75%, you can see here that it can be Together 150 years, Together we got paid maternity leave, and then the union logo can go on the back. So any number of different ways that can all be put together, either very simply with the single logo, or putting in the slogan of what has been accomplished, what can be accomplished, or what will be accomplished. So I'll just roll it back up, sorry, to the front, to the main elements there. 150 years together. Thanks very much, and we'll look forward to hopefully a number of the affiliates deciding to incorporate this into your t-shirts, into flags, into other swag that you may want to provide.
Sorry, I see Miles asking if we are able to share a link of that as well. And I want to let you know also, there was few questions that asked early on if we're doing it, and yes, we are, and happy to let you know that we're going to start as we usually do at up at Queen University location, where we start yearly and end up at the CNE again. So that's exciting news that it's going to be the same, the wristband, the whole work will be there. I believe Maureen also started reaching out to coordinators. So there's a list of coordinators that we have over the years that union provide to the Labor Council, and these are the ones that come together to bring back whatever information to their own union. We also sent out what Susan just rolled out with you to all heads of union. And with the coordinator meeting coming up on the 15th of this month, then there is more information that each union will have. I'm going to take a look at that list to see if we're missing anyone, or if a name change on that we need to make sure that everybody have the information moving forward. So I hope you are in approval of what we just presented and getting ready to take back the street larger, right? We need to get out there in person to show that we are up again and we are on the move because we got work to do. Okay. So if no one have any question, I'm gonna move on. All right, so I'm gonna move on to our next presenter, Marcia Lopez from Labor Community Services, and she's here to give a report on Tampon Tuesday.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Hello there, brothers and sisters, comrades. My name is Marcia Lopez, and I am the labor liaison at United Way. I also work with Labor Community Services, and I'm a steel worker member, Local 7536. And today I am here to promote an event that usually takes place around International Women's Day. But because of the pandemic, that event has been sort of put on hold for the last couple of years. And this year we decided to bring it back in the month of June as a drive-through event. It's in person, but it's going to be outdoors. And we are going to hold 3 drive-through days that you can come and you could donate feminine hygiene products at 3 locations. The first event is going to take place on June 14th at the Area Council parking lot, at Cecil Street, 25 Cecil Street. The next event is going to be on Tuesday, June the 21st, and that is going to be at the Carpenters Hall in York Region on Roundtree Dairy Road. The third drive-through Tampon Tuesday event is going to be at the Steelworkers Area Council Hall at Arrow Road in Peel Region. And we are going to be, myself and the other labor liaison, Jackie Taylor from Peel, will be at those 3 locations to accept any donations of feminine hygiene products. This event actually began to take place in person over 20 years ago because a young woman who was volunteering at a food bank in the London area realized that there was a need for feminine products to be offered at the food bank. And she decided that what she would do is to have these events where people can come and donate. This event is sponsored also by United Way, and any donations to the event, at the event, will be then given to women's shelters in the area. So I ask for your support. I ask that you come out and you support this event and help women who are in need of these products and are not able to afford them. We know that the pandemic has impacted people differently, and we really felt that we needed to start this event again to help those women who are in need. We've also introduced this year for the first time a petition. And this petition was started because the Ford government has partnered with Shoppers Drug Mart to offer free feminine products to students in schools. But that program is very underfunded. And so the petition that we're asking people to sign speaks to funding this program properly and at the right levels to make it available for all children in our schools in Ontario. So please come out and support this event. As I said, the first one is going to be right here in Toronto on the 14th, which is next week, Tuesday. We will be in the parking lot from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you can drop off those products before you go to work. You can come and drop off products on your lunch hour, or even after work, you can come and bring products. We will be there. So thanks again for the steel workers and the carpenters for offering up their space so that we can do this drive-through. And we hope to see you there. Thanks very much, Andrea.
Thank you. And I believe someone asked if there's also a link. So it's in the chat as well. So whatever question, but there's one. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am going to announce, so on our board, for any one of you who already know her, and if not, one of our board members, Sister Yolanda Bedesi from the elementary teachers, she has moved on to be the new OFL Human Rights Director, and that leaves us with a vacancy on our board. So I'm just giving notice that for the July delegates meeting, we are going to call for nomination at that meeting. And if there's no acclamation for that, then, and we're moving for an election, that would be on our next subsequent meeting. So that is whether we have a delegates meeting either August or the September. So just want to let you know that the vacancy is there, and what's our plan next for that. Okay. And I move on to CLC. Is there anyone from the CLC here?
I don't see either Heather or Tim among the participants.
Okay, so can I ask for other council's report? Is there anyone? Steve?
I'll give a short report on the Labor Education
Thank
Center.
you. Okay.
LEC is starting 2 new programs this month. The first is Golden Mile Trades Training. It's part of a very large redevelopment of the Golden Mile area between Victoria Park Avenue and Pharmacy, along that stretch of Eglinton East. LEC has been working with about 9 or 10 other community partners and the United Way in starting up the Golden Mile Trades Training. This is in conjunction with ACON, and in particular, we are training people from the Golden Mile area to work on some of ACON's hydrovac trucks. Then later this month, on June 20th, we start the first cohort of Green Building Operators Program. This is funded through the Canada Green Building Council, with funding actually coming from the Future Skills Center, a new federal agency. So we're very excited about that. We'll be training diverse workers to get into the area of building operations with an emphasis on green building operations. If there's anyone in the meeting tonight that like more information about the campaign, I'll just put my email in the chat. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Labor Community Service, any report?
Good evening, everybody. So I think most of our active projects have been already introduced this evening. So the biggest one is tomorrow, Bromley. Bromley we have been doing since 2005. And it's really another way to acknowledge and respect what Dr. Bromley has done for Canada, and also to remember people that the fight still continues on, and we need really to continue with the fight and to eradicate systemic racism. And I encourage people to come. This is also another action of Labor Community Service in conjunction with Toronto and York Region Labor Council Equity Committee to really put the systemic racism agenda in our agenda. And also the other thing is, yes, it matters. It's also we continue doing it. So really try to work with anybody and everybody, really to look. And we are planning to do a conference or a forum sometime, maybe in the fall or early spring next year. So where we are looking of introducing sample collective equity anti-racism language for collective agreements, and also member-to-member protocol on racism, and also look how we can really do some changes, basic changes, so like some unions have already done. So that's all there, and we also are gearing ourselves for the coming United Way campaign. And United Way is our charity of choice and funds labor community service 100%. And it's a national agreement between CLC and United Way and Trade. And our commitment is really to do whatever we can do to help them out, help the 300 community organizations in Bill York region and Toronto. And I think we are planning, we will having a planning session, and we're coming again to you to help, ask help to help us support United Way. So thanks, that's it for now.
Okay, thank you, Faduma. Okay, so we move on to committees. Any committee report? I see none. In fact, okay, no committee report. I think the equity already finished. Union report? Any unions report? Blair, and then I see Sophia.
Yeah, we're local 30. I reported last month we had a ratification vote that didn't go through, and we're in the process of having another ratification vote now, and hopefully this one here might be good. Something the members are happy with. We're doing it over a few days this time, as opposed to all in one day. So the local 30 sheet metal roofers or sheet metal and roofers will be, the sheet metal is voting all week, and the roofers look like they may have this vote on Saturday. So hopefully we'll be able to join the other locals and trades that all have reached agreements, and hopefully we'll be able to reach one soon too. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia.
Andrea, did you hear from Raquel already?
Yes, she did.
Okay,
it was awesome.
perfect.
Thank you. All right. Sophia.
Hi, all. So I'm Sophia Reno from CUPE Local 79. I'm the recording secretary. And tonight was our by-election for the vacant president position. And the successful person was Casey Barnett. She is now our new president. She will be obviously stepping down from her chief steward role, and that will be the new vacant position that we will need to fill through a by-election. But Casey Barnett was the successful person for the president's position.
All right. Okay. Thank you for your report. Congratulations to Casey. All right. Any more union report as we move on? Okay, did I miss anyone? I'm trying to check screen. Nope. Okay. All right. So for everyone who know that this month is very special. This month is also the month for Pride. And last year we were reminded that this Labor Council stood up publicly for more than 40 years ago to support LGBTQ community against violence and intrusive police action. And we keep standing up. Please get out and enjoy. Pride this month is June 26th. I hope I'm right. June 26th is Sunday, June 26th. I know some unions already getting ready, their swags ready to go, and I think I have several swags waiting, but I encourage all of you to go out, and if you are already planning, please share that with us as well. And we look forward to see all of you. So before we wrap up, I believe I'm going to turn over to Skylar for our parting music. I noticed that Alim left us. I think he thought we were going to ask him to sing again.
Some of my songs
And while you're
in the hearts of you and me.
enjoying the
I
music, I
didn't
just want to say
choose that I was going to
thank
write a
you to
song
everyone
about the murdered
for
and
coming
missing
and
women.
staying with us. Have a
It
good night.
came from a place that I don't even know. But it came from a place, I think, an ancestral place.